WeVoice community. I'm Natalie, Chief Scientific and Strategy Officer and co-founder of WeVoice for our Mindvalley and from the space of love. We have created WeVoice as a science-proven art to live a stressless life, distilling all the wisdom and learnings that we got in the way. And we are on a mission to give the best version of you to 1 billion people in health, mind, performance, creativity, and human connections. And today there is no bigger pleasure than present you people who are creating magic behind the stage. And the first interview, the first deep dive conversation that I'm having is with this incredible individual, Ivan Nikolov. Hello and welcome to the stage. Ivan is a former Mindvalley tribe facilitator, NLP coach, TLT coach, and he will tell you more on all the therapies. His main mission in life is to unpack people, to bring you to clarity, to bring you to action. And he sees the invisible, so you can create the biggest impact in your life. And without further saying, I would like to deep dive with you in the conversation, and I would like, absolutely. And I would like to ask you, what is your personal story behind? And what is your coaching story? And indeed, what are the therapies that you are using in your practice to give best to humanity?
Well, I think my personal story is the personal story of anybody who becomes a guide or a coach or a mentor later. We try to help ourselves and we figure some things out, and now our mission becomes to help a lot of other people because we see that they're struggling with very similar or the same things that we struggle with, so it's only natural that we help these people as well. So it's basically my own journey, and now I'm helping others who are on the same journey that I was, and I still am on my own journey, continuing forward. As far as the modalities that I practice, I use them very selectively. The main tool that I use is the tool of deep listening and compassion and empathy, and being so present that I can see things for my clients, for the people I get the privilege to talk to, that they can't see for themselves yet. I can see them in places that they can't see themselves yet, and I can guide them through questions and a very gentle guidance to where they can see also what I'm seeing for them, and then helping them believe that this is possible for them. And the tools, they're interesting, but they don't matter because they do matter, let me change that. They do matter, but they come when they need to come, and it's not something that's set in stone and pre-planned in a way that we cannot navigate around that. So when the tool has to be used, it has to be used. But the general strategy is listen very carefully to not only the mental message of the individual, but also the soul message of the individual, and figure out the best way to help them align these two.
How beautiful. Awareness of these blind spots and indeed revealing of them. And tell me please, for how many years have you been in the field?
I would say for about 5 years now, but I started as a fitness coach, and then I morphed into what I do right now, which is I help people bring their message and gifts out into the world.
Fantastic. Ivan, and how do you think, why so many people right now are struggling with over stress, with overwhelm? Why is it happening so oftentimes now?
I think I pointed down to just a couple of big reasons. The first one is that we live in unprecedented fast times where things are happening so rapidly that we are required to literally sprint, where 30, 40 years ago, our parents could walk on a journey. Now we have to sprint all the time. So that's the first reason. Things are happening very fast. And the second reason is because while things are happening very fast, everything is on display on social media, on the internet, and we consciously or unconsciously compare ourselves to other people, and we don't want to be left behind. So now that puts so much stress on us to perform all the time, to not fall behind everybody else, and falling behind doesn't feel good. So we want to keep running, and so we get into this low grade perpetual state of stress which is chronic, but it keeps growing on us, and it keeps eventually start chipping off from our health to where it can actually kill us.
I see. And could you please tell how your modalities, how your therapies are helping people with that? How is it possible online and offline? And what is the science behind NLP and timeline therapy?
So again, my main approach is to listen to the individual and guide them the way they want to walk that journey without interfering with their natural path. But as I discover obstacles, or we discover together obstacles as far as the bigness of their vision and their not inability, but forgetting how to dream big. And then on the other hand, that's about the future. On the other hand, about the past, having resistance to their own greatness and inheriting that from their early childhood, then we address these issues as we keep going with them using different tools. But sometimes what works best is actually bringing things to the consciousness level, to the level of awareness, where once they're seen, they cannot be unseen. And so, yes, I can use NLP and timeline therapy. Sometimes it could be even hypnotherapy. I also have the tools of somatherapy, which is breathwork therapy. That,
I love that.
yes, that actually brings people to a new state. And what's very interesting, actually, what WeVoice is doing is it's helping people manage stress levels, decrease drastically stress levels by aligning their sympathetic and parasympathetic system and bringing both down and at the same level so that the individual is functioning optimally. Whereas in normal stressful life, the sympathetic, the fight and flight system is overstimulated, whereas the parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest system, is understimulated. So we constantly feel in this fight and flight response, and that's our normal, that's our baseline. And because it's our baseline, we so much get used to it that we no longer think of it as something that's abnormal. We accept it, and now it begins to really damage us. So modalities that I use, like I mentioned, one of them was breathwork therapy, somatherapy, and the main effect of it, I mean, there are many main effects, but one of the ones that are applying directly to what we do here is it helps bring down the overstimulated sympathetic system and bring back up the understimulated parasympathetic or rest and digest system.
I absolutely love that you dove deep into that to explain how this balance, how this harmony is important. And moving forward, I would definitely love to pause here and keep brainstorming as scientist and psychologist.
We can come back and brainstorm on these.
Totally, in the next episode. And the next question I would actually love to ask you is, what activities do your client need to perform during the session to take the best of it?
The main activity is for them to be fully present and to play all out, to be fully in what we're doing and to be fully committed and very decisive about what we do. Also to not let discomfort and fear stop them, because while it's comfortable to live the life that we're living, also the stressful life, moving out of that requires change, and people generally don't like change. And so my main job is to help people navigate change where it doesn't feel overwhelming for them, while we use techniques and tools and sometimes just purely an intuitive approach to help people navigate through moving away from what they want to move away from, but it still feels comfortable, towards what they really must move towards, but they're still afraid of. So I can use tools like timeline therapy, which is a very interesting tool. It's NLP based. It's been around for many years, I would say 30, 40 years. And there is a science behind it. We don't have time to go over it, but you can Google online timeline therapy. It's NLP based, like I said. It's very interesting because it's like a game. It's like taking somebody on a mental game to travel in the future and the past and imagine that they fly. So it's almost like a kid's game, and you wouldn't even tell how something like this could actually work. But it does work because it sends very strong signals to the unconscious mind, which is where most of our actions come from. Inactions also come from there. But the point is that most of our results come from our unconscious mind. So NLP in general, including TLT as one of the offshoot modalities of NLP, help the individual reprogram their unconscious mindset without feeling that they're actually doing work, without feeling that there is an intervention. It's just a story and it's like a game.
Gamification, yeah. Beautiful. I imagine a couple of years from now, we could release the project based on VR, AR, and take people on a journey so they can really massively experience it.
That's a great idea, actually. That could be built into I think that is the future, and it's not a far future. It's very, very near.
So true, so true. Especially when we're dreaming big, and especially if we're fully unpacked.
That's what you're doing, right?
Ivan, and are there any side effects from the therapies that you use?
Not that I know of. NLP, just like any tool, can be misused. That's why when we begin training as NLP practitioners and master practitioners, we have to go over the code of NLP. And one of the main tenets of NLP is ecology. It's this win-win-win situation in everything that we use NLP in. And that is win for the individual, win for us as well, and win for humanity, for the planet, for the larger ecosystem. So NLP requires that we use it for everybody to win. Are there people who are using it maliciously out there? Yes, there are, but there are people who are using maliciously very useful tools everywhere in the world. A knife, we use a knife to prepare our food, but some people use a knife for different things. So yes, with every tool it could be misused, but this is prevented to a large degree for, I would say, almost everybody who's trained in NLP by the code of NLP.
And how fast your clients can see the results?
This is a loaded question, because sometimes it could be absolutely immediate. It could be literally on the second, and it's very visible. It looks like a major aha moment, a Satori moment, and we can even see the change. And sometimes the programming of the unconscious mind happens on the moment, but it takes time for the external reality to adjust to this new reprogrammed inner world. So there are modalities that we use in NLP and timeline therapy where we instruct the unconscious of the individual, but over the next days and weeks is when they're seeing things happening and life developing differently, themselves reacting differently to situations, acting differently in situations where previously they would have acted or reacted in a certain way. Now they witness themselves, literally without trying, acting and reacting in a different way. So it's different, and it depends on the modality, and also it depends on how the individual processes this instruction, this new instruction.
So basically the reprogramming happening immediately, and our neural network adjusting immediately. It just like, for us, it takes some time to unpack.
Oftentimes the reprogramming happens immediately. Sometimes the instruction happens immediately. However, the unconscious mind has to process it in its own way, and it usually happens when it's active and when the conscious mind is kind of inactive, which is during sleep. And so oftentimes an individual will have different dreams, and they'll go through several nights where it just feels a bit different, and they feel that something's happening, they're processing a lot, and during the day they're witnessing, like I said, different actions, different reactions to events that are happening outside of them. But the unconscious mind has to put the new information in the right boxes after the session, so that when it needs the information, it can take it from these boxes and it knows immediately where to find it.
Yeah, to me it's actually happened the same way. I experienced NLP quite a few times, and that was happening through dreams. Yeah, then next morning the clarity would come, and certainly everything will be at the right shelf. So true.
Yeah.
And who are your clients that you work with?
I work with individuals who are high achievers, high performers, and they've always had this feeling that they were born for more. And just like me in the past, they find themselves in life in a situation where they evaluate their life at the moment. Maybe they're in a midlife crisis or a quarter life crisis, but they evaluate their results and their current reality, and they feel this misalignment between what they felt when they were much younger, that the future holds for them, and what actually the future turned out to be. And so my clients are people who have always felt that their potential is huge, but they're feeling that now their potential has been dulled and they want to unlock it again. They're also committed and they're coachable, and they don't let fear stop them. And they're absolutely honest with me and authentic, and whatever comes up is immediately put on the table so that we can look at it objectively, instead of trying to find where things are hiding and they may be sabotaging our journey.
Indeed, being just open, vulnerable, how much does it help to a client? Just tremendously.
Well, it does help, because what happens is we take off the shield and we don't really have to do anything after that. The things that must be visible, they are visible, and now we can see them and say what is serving here and what is not serving. And from the things that are not serving, when is now a good time to start letting them go?
I love it. When now is a good time?
That's NLP, by the way. It's an
In
instruction.
action. It's already working with you guys. And what does it take, Ivan, to work with you?
What it takes is a coaching session with me. And right now, what I do right now, the time of this recording, I'm committed to a mission, which is 1,000 gifted coaching sessions in just 500 days. At the time of this recording, I've completed almost 160 in just 2.5 months, less than 3 months. And so everything's going very fast for me. But usually what it takes is a session with me, which is, I don't charge for this session, but I evaluate whether I'm the right person to help the individual. And if I'm not, then I recommend the resource. It might be another individual that can help them much better than me. It might be a resource, it might be a book, a course, something. But every time somebody speaks with me, whether we end up working together or not, there is enormous value from this call, because the aha moments are happening very fast and people literally change on this call. They're never the same after that, because what they discover about them, again, what is seen, it cannot be unseen. And so it takes a conversation with me, and then if there is resonance, if there is alignment, then we may continue working together. And if there is no alignment, then we don't continue together. However, the instructions and the next steps will stay, and that will be helping the individual.
Just out of a disclosure, working together at Mindvalley, Ivan was one of 3 most important people who really impacted me the most. And that all happened just by Ivan being his authentic self, without any coaching sessions, just deep conversations, that level of authenticity and that level of confidence and unstoppability.
Thank you. It's also a journey. It's been my journey, and it never ends. It's like a workout. As soon as you stop going to the gym, the muscles start atrophying, and as soon as you stop eating healthy, you kind of see the results of not eating healthy. So it's like a workout. authenticity, honesty, being vulnerable. This all has to be exercised, and there is always a new level to go to. So I'm humbly pacing on my own journey. I'm humbly walking on my own journey. But thank you for the acknowledgement.
I love that. Fitness of emotional intelligence.
That's everything is fitness. Everything is fitness, because
And
the laws of physics will prevent something that's not taken care of to stay the same. And this is one of the big things that we go over in my coaching. We don't have time to go over it now, but the problem of a lot of the people that I have the privilege to talk with is they're grasping onto certainty, and they don't want to accept that for something to change has to happen. And we're massively trying to avoid change when this is the only certain thing in the entire universe. It's change, especially on our planet. The law of thermodynamics say that entropy guarantees that something is that's left there unattended, it'll eventually fall apart, it'll decay. And so anything that's not taken care of doesn't stay static, it actually moves backwards, it actually decays. So think about it this way: if we're not growing, we're decaying, we're dying. And so I help people realize that and make a choice, because I cannot make this choice for them, but they can make a choice whether they want to continue growing, and then we examine how fast they want to continue growing, or they choose not to grow. But I definitely don't work with these people who are okay staying in certainty, which is actually moving backwards.
I think that's exactly what we're doing. Just like the biological evolution takes place, we also do facilitate the personal growth evolution.
Well, what you're doing with WeVoice, I like to picture it this way. In today's day and age that we live in, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, where everything's happening so fast, and we're comparing ourselves to others, and we want to run as fast as they're running, and maybe if we're competitive, we want to run even faster. But what's happening, because of these enormous stress levels, we literally move as if we're moving in the mud with very heavy shoes. And what most people don't realize is that they're also carrying a heavy backpack on their back that's full of rocks. And this is their past. This is their past resistance. This is all what many people talk about these as limiting beliefs, but all forms of resistance. And so they're carrying this heavy weight. They're pretending that they don't know, and they're trying to walk fast in the mud where they're barely moving. So the invitation of WeVoice is, let's bring you back to what's natural for you, what Mother Nature intended for you, and where you function the best, where you're the most productive, where your body cells are rejuvenating properly, where you're not decaying, you're actually renovating. Let's put you in that state, and what you will find that there is no backpack that you're holding onto and you feel heavy, and that you've taken off the shoes and now you're on the asphalt, so you can even sprint. And this is the game we're all playing. And so I so much appreciate that this is what you're doing, and I may be reaching a few individuals through my own efforts, but WeVoice is bound to reach 1 billion and more individuals. So whatever I can do to help the cause, I'm right here and always ready.
I appreciate you tremendously, and also given this very visual picture matters a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being the magic behind the stage, because all your guidance is extremely valuable for the whole WeVoice team, for the whole WeVoice community. Ivan, a couple of last questions before we wrap up. Who are your mentors? Who are the people that inspire you?
Well, I can name a couple of people who inspire me. One of them is Robert Adams. He's a friend of mine. There is a very good chance that you don't know about him. He's just a normal guy who's very successful in life the way I see success. Not the way society sees success, but the way I see success. And his philosophy is always alive in me. He's like my mentor in the imagined world. And another role model that I have, his name is Jesse Elder. He's quite a bit more popular. Another role model that I coached with personally several years ago, Kat Ruth, she's my role model. And then quite a few individuals who harbor philosophy of expansion, and they also happen to be successful by societal standards, like Richard Branson, for example, like Vishen Lakhiani of Mindvalley, who I had the privilege to work with and under the hat of Mindvalley. So quite a few individuals. I'm not afraid to be in a beginner's mindset. I'm not afraid to bring my cup empty so I can put new stuff in it. I'm not afraid to be the dumbest person in the room so I can learn more. I'm not afraid of imposter syndrome because that keeps me curious. So I have a lot of mentors. Or in fact, my cat is also a mentor for me. There are things that I learned from my cat. So what actually matters is paying attention. And one of these mentors that I mentioned, he said, pay attention. The reason why it's called pay attention is because it's currency. And so I like to pay attention.
Right, currency for transformation.
Exactly.
And Ivan, if you were to give one last message to the Voice community in this interview, what would it be?
I think the message that I personally have a message that's summarized in one sentence, but there's something else that's also coming up for me that's very alive. The sentence that I have usually ready, it's actually my core belief about me, about you, about all of us, is this: we're far more than we think we are. But what I want to add that's actually alive in me right now is coming as an additional level of clarity for me from a psychologist and a cognitive behavior therapy professional and psychiatrist and hypnotherapist in Lisbon in Portugal that I had the privilege to interview just 2 days ago. And he reminded me something and added an extra layer that made it an aha moment for me. And he said what most of us struggle with, actually what all of us struggle with, is that we feel not enough, we feel incomplete. But the real problem is that we are reaching outside for the pieces that will complete us. And he said they're not outside. Everything's already in. And now the question is, how do I find these pieces inside of me? There are no pieces inside of you that you need to find. The missing pieces are the pieces. Everything is exactly where it needs to be. The holes, the missing pieces are all a part of your wholeness. You are a wholeness with your empty spots that you think that they're empty and the missing parts. So this is my message. Your not enoughness is exactly your enoughness. And so it's all inside of you. It's never been outside of you. There is no key that you need to find outside of you. There is no even key that you need. It's just rocking through life with a different lens. Just adjusting the lens about yourself. And I'm sending you my love with that.
Thank you. Just dare to notice. Thank you so much. That was an incredible deep dive with you, an incredible journey, and I truly appreciated hosting you here.
Thank you,
Ivan.
Receiving fully.